I'm the trout player.
Hey, David Brewster here with a Halloween special. This is the USB Ace Frehley Mystery, which I don't really understand why this episode's called that, because there's no mystery surrounding Ace. He's right there, he's fine. Okay, what the hell just happened? I guess we've lost power here, so just bear with me. I'm going to try to figure this out. Okay, weird. Now the power's back on. That's really strange. Lights are on. Looks like everything's working. Alright, we're good. So anyway, this lesson's going to focus on the music of Kiss, and specifically Ace Frehley, and I'll put together a Kiss chord play episode, and also a 3-for-all for Ace Frehley. And I love Ace. I'm a huge Ace Frehley fan. I'm a bigger Ace Frehley fan than I am a Kiss fan, which I know is kind of weird. But without further ado, let's welcome to the show USB Ace Frehley. Wait a minute, where did Ace go? That's weird. I know he was over there when we started, and I didn't put Peter Criss up there. I have no idea where Ace went, but hopefully he'll be back later. But this lesson's going to focus on some of his music and ideas, also the music of Kiss, and we're going to talk about some of the different guitarists that have played with Kiss. So if you're a Kiss fan, an Ace Frehley fan, or just a fan of Halloween, this is your episode. So let's have some fun. Like I mentioned earlier, I have put together a Kiss chord play episode, also a 3-for-all for Ace Frehley, and I also did one for Bruce Kulick earlier this year too. But the guitarist of Kiss, of course, there's Ace Frehley, Vinnie Vincent, Mark St. John, Bruce Kulick, and Tommy Thayer. And of course, there's Paul Stanley too. Let's not forget Paul. The front man, also plays a lot of rhythm, a little bit of lead, but mainly a rhythm guitarist. But the guitarists of Kiss are very influential, very important. Definitely influenced and inspired, millions of music fans, hard rock and metal all over the world. On Kiss's history, or Kisstory, I guess you could call it, there are a number of musicians kind of behind the scenes, like in the studio and session work and co-writing songs with Gene and Paul. And in the guitar department, there's Dick Wagner, who famously played with Alice Cooper. And also Bob Kulick, the late great producer, brother of Bruce Kulick. When I did the research for this episode, I wanted to dive deep into some of those kind of secret sessions that Kiss had on certain albums. And it's really mind-blowing. I mean, Steve Lukather and Robin Ford, and there's all these players, Elliot Randall. There's a ton of these great guitarists hiding on certain Kiss albums. So here's an image with a breakdown of those players and the albums they appear on. I did want to flash an image with Paul Stanley, because Paul is almost always forgotten. Nobody seems to remember to talk about him when they're talking about Kiss. It's always Ace and Vinnie and Bruce and some of these players that get all the attention. But Paul Stanley's definitely a legend of the industry. So here's an image with some of the people that Paul's played with in his career, with or without Kiss. Next up is Ace, and honestly, I wouldn't even be sitting here talking about Kiss right now if it wasn't for Ace Frehley. I love Ace. There's just something about him. And I know there are, guitarists all over the world that could play him off stage as far as technique and shredding or whatever, but that's not really his thing. There's something about that gritty, kind of mess and finesse, rock, blues, kind of sound that he has. The bending licks, the vibrato, the phrasing, all that stuff. I love Ace Frehley. But the opening, that was actually the outro of the song Let Me Know, which Kiss started to perform that riff at the end of the song She, somewhere around 1975. And on the classic, Kiss live album Alive, when they performed She, they played that riff from Let Me Know, and then Ace did a solo, and this was kind of his guitar solo, live concert vehicle. And I know that's a little bit confusing, so I wanted to explain where this came from and where they started to include it, like in their live show. So here's a clip of Kiss playing exactly what I'm talking about in 1975. And here's a more recent clip with Tommy Thayer playing in Kiss. Don't tell Ace whenever he comes back. But here's Tommy Thayer, playing the same thing. So they kind of brought this back, on more recent tours. And that's honestly where I pulled, the idea for the intro. So I did technically grab Tommy's version instead of Ace's. And I think technically this is a Paul Stanley riff. But anyway, here's Tommy playing the same type of thing. Okay, for this one we're basically tuned down a half step, and it's based around A, and it's basically this. Something like that. So it's based around A, and we're kind of playing with A blues, like the A blues scale, and we're starting with this. So we're really just kind of playing this A octave and kind of bouncing back and forth between that open A string and that fretted A on the 7th fret on the D string. A little smear bend on that G note right there after that. And then slowly this kind of speed lick or whatever, this hammer and pull off lick. And really what Ace is doing here in the clip, and Tommy's doing the same thing, but he's doing this. And at the end of that riff, he really just grabs, 4 single G's right there on the 3rd fret low E. But Paul's playing power chords, Gene's playing the root note, Peter's grabbing the drum part. So it has this huge sound when that comes in. So I really just convert or revert over to a power chord at the end of that riff, even though I think Ace and Tommy are both playing a single note. I'm just trying to fatten it up, by myself. Ace continues doing that riff in the old footage, and then Tommy actually made a variation here. So the Tommy Thayer, variation is this. So right there you can see we're really just kind of speeding up that riff. And just start doing that descending, hammer on pull off lick. And then start doing this. There you're doing that hammer on pull off and sliding and stopping on that C note. And then just start doing this hammer on pull off lick right here. And then just end on this big G5 power chord down there, and you're playing it, the way Tommy Thayer did. Really cool. Next up is Vinnie Vincent. I've had a lot of requests to feature some Vinnie Vincent on the channel here, and I haven't really got around to it yet, but we are, just slowly starting to feature him in this episode. And there's something about Vinnie, too. Definitely there's a lot of stuff I didn't know about Vinnie Vincent until I did the research for this episode. So here's an image with some of the people he's worked with. I'm going to follow that with another image with this interesting story about Vinnie Vincent that I didn't know. Interesting story is Vinnie Vincent used to work on Happy Days and Joni Loves Chachi. I had no idea he used to work for Paramount or whatever. But check this story out and pause the screen so you can read this. I was really impressed. I was like, I didn't know this about Vinnie Vincent. Okay, for Vinny's Lick, I actually went through several, like bootlegs and concerts and stuff when he was working with Kiss, and I found this really early footage of him on the Creatures of the Night tour in 1983, and he actually played the Looney Tunes theme on guitar. And there's like a part where it almost sounds like Jeff Beck a little bit, and I was like, what in the world is he doing? But it was so cool. But check this clip out of him. It's really grainy, but you can definitely hear what it is. For this one, we're in standard tuning, and Vinny's also using the bar, which is why I switched to my Strat. But truth be told, I love working on stuff like this. Movie themes and TV show themes and cartoons and stuff and video games and whatever. It's a big challenge, but it's, definitely fun to work on just to see if you can pull it off on the guitar. Like this. Or something like that. And he's starting that wind-up intro, or that really strange intro with the bar. He's dipped the bar, and he's basically raising it on that G sharp right there. Just a basic melody right there. Right? So the little bar dip. And then he starts bar dipping right here too, like this. Almost sounds like Steve Vai or somebody. And then he starts doing... And then this is the weird, like, Jeff Beck almost riff. And I'm hybrid picking there. I think Vinny is hybrid picking too, because that open A string has a weird bite to it like that. Really cool, and one of those things you whip out like at a Guitar Center or a music store or band practice or even at a gig, and people are going to look at you and they're going to laugh or they're going to point or somebody's going to pull out their phone, because that's cool. Okay, next up is Mark St. John, and he joined Kiss after Vinnie Vincent left, and there's this little window of time when Mark was working with the group. He recorded the album Animalize, and then started a band called White Tiger after Kiss. But here's an image with some of the people that Mark St. John worked with in his career. As the image indicated, Mark is deceased. He did pass away, and there's this kind of mystery and mystique surrounding him, because I've heard all these stories for decades about how Mark was this crazy, like Sean Lane, Buckethead type of shredder. And I scoured the internet trying to find some good, usable, bootlegs or live footage or something. I couldn't find anything. I could find some White Tiger and a little bit, of him with Kiss, but the audio quality and the video quality is so bad. Like, here's a clip of him playing with White Tiger, and you can see his hand, and he's shredding on the fretboard, but you really can't hear it. It's such bad quality and it's garbled. You really can't even decipher the individual notes. You can just kind of see that he's shredding. But check this out. Next up is Bruce Kulick, and I did feature Bruce in a 3-for-All earlier this year, and I wanted to include him again in this episode. And Bruce is a legend, once again, worked with Kiss, Grand Funk Railroad, and there's a whole bunch, John Corabi, there's a whole bunch of people he's worked with. Michael Bolton, there's tons. But here's an image with some of the people that Bruce has worked with in his career. And like I mentioned, Bruce is a legend. For Bruce's Lick, we're doing this crazy chromatic-based tapping idea, and it totally sounds like something you'd hear Buckethead play. But here's Bruce, shredding this like this. like the minor pentatonic box, and then we're going to be moving that up, you know, with the left hand, or your fret hand. And then you're literally kind of mirroring this tapping idea, and you're doing this. So you're doing these double taps, and you're pulling off those notes, you know, that your fret hand's using, like this. And then just basically move everything you just did right there. Then move everything up one fret, and this is where the chromatic based idea comes into play. So we're doing this. And then do it again, go up another fret. And then do it again. And then right there, you're going to basically just keep the D and the G and start moving up chromatically like this. And you're kind of ending right there on that 12th and 14th, and you're kind of tapping that A and D note right there. So really slow all the way through, it's like this. And I'm just ending on that A note right there, but then up to speed one more time. Oh man, not again. What the hell? Alright, well bear with me. Hopefully the power's going to come back on. I don't know why it went off again. Okay, now the power's back on. I don't understand what is going on here. I don't like that it keeps doing that. Make sure everything's working. Wait a minute. Who are you? You're not Ace.
No, actually I'm a plumber.
Next up is Tommy Thayer, and Tommy Thayer might be considered a recent addition to Kiss, but he's actually been working behind the scenes in and around the band for a very long time. And he's literally, you know, dressed as Ace Frehley when they've gone on tour, and authentically, you know, replicated and kind of reproduced a lot of Ace's, you know, famous licks and solos and stuff. And I definitely like Tommy Thayer a lot. And I guess his claim to fame before Kiss was the band Black and Blue, but here's some people that Tommy's worked with in his career. Like from Tommy Thayer while we're waiting for Ace, and this is Tommy, you know, dressed as Ace Frehley, and they're playing Love Gun, and he does this really cool like oblique bend, and then goes into the really famous, you know, Love Gun bending lick, but something like this. One more time. So we're in standard tuning now, and it's basically in D minor pentatonic, and we're going to be doing this kind of catched bend right there, where we're bending this G up to A, and then with your pinky you want to catch that C note on the B string, and then you want to bend that G up again, and then catch F on the high E string. So your pinky is going to alternate between that C and F, like this. And then do a bend and release, and then grab that F and D to finish it off. So really slow. And then you go into the Love Gun lick, which is this. And it keeps going. I just bend, you know, that C to D to end it. But one more time with this lick, and I love phrases like this where you're hearing this, you know, pretty typical bending phrase. You might hear that in country a lot, but here's, you know, Tommy whipping that out in a Kiss solo. Another lick from Tommy, and we're still in standard tuning, and it's a D minor pentatonic scale run that's bookended with these bends. Something like this. One more time. So we're in standard tuning, that's D minor pentatonic, and we're just starting with this whole step bend, you know, that F to G right there. And then literally just cruise right down D minor pentatonic like this. When you get to that G note there on the A string, that's when you're going to grab G on the G string, bend that up and down. So you want to bend it up a whole step, release it, and then bend it back up with vibrato. So really slowly. Phrases like that where it's really simple, but it rocks. You know, it definitely grabs your attention. The last example here is going to come from Tommy Thayer again, and this is during his live solo, and he actually plays a little bit of Beethoven's Fifth. And he's also using an octave pedal, so I'm going to use the Boss OC5 octave pedal. But I'm a sucker for stuff like this. TV show themes and movie themes, classical themes, you name it. Sign me up, I love this stuff. Off just so we can really hear, you know, what's going on here. But basically you're going to open that with Beethoven's Fifth like this, that A to F. That's what it sounds like without the octave effect. And then that G to the low E open. And then you hear the melody up here, really slow. Actually a really good picking exercise for something familiar you can kind of play with just sitting there with your guitar. And then the next phrase is here. And then you hear Tommy doing this bend, but it's a little out of tune. It sounds kind of funny. And I think his guitar, literally, is just out of tune in this footage because he was just playing a guitar solo. Right before he did this, he was shooting rockets, you know, out of the headstock of his guitar. And then he played this Beethoven's Fifth, you know, excerpt. So I think he's just a little bit out of tune, which we'll let that slide. He was shooting rockets and stuff, so that's okay. But right there, you're bending like this. Then you're going to move down here. And at the end, he actually starts doing that trill between A and B flat. And then he kept going, you know, into a solo. But if I turn the octave back on and run through that one more time, it's so cool. You can play this for friends or at a gig or something, or just sitting around the house, you know, and impress your dog or something like this. Oh man, not again. Ugh. Wait, maybe this is Ace like trying to contact us or something. Ace, if you can hear me, Go toward the light. Or wait, maybe that's not the right one. Stay away from the light. Wow, okay, now the lights are back on again. I don't understand what's going on here, but this is really starting to freak me out. I've never had problem with my lights and electricity before. This is really strange. Whoa, look, Ace is back. And the Ace Frehley solo album's up there too. Ace, where have you been, dude? The lesson's almost over. Jeez. Anyway, I wanted to put this together not only to celebrate Ace Frehley and the music of Kiss, and also kind of hit, some of the famous guitarists that have played with Kiss. But we're also celebrating Halloween, so this is the Halloween episode. I'm just having some fun here. So hopefully you learned a few things and you had some fun too. But really the only mystery here is why is that USB Ace Frehley like $300 online? It's a flash drive, and I bought it for $5 at a Barnes & Noble. That's really weird, but I had some viewers that pointed that out, that flash drive is really expensive or valuable right now, which I bought Ace for $5. That's going to wrap this episode with the USB Ace Frehley Mystery, and I'm really just having some fun here, celebrating Halloween, wrapping up Metal Month on my channel. And speaking of Metal Month, I had some great requests that came through, like in August and September, and also in October, this month. And Voivod, Metal Church, Exodus, there were some great suggestions and requests that came through. So I promise you, next year, next October, the next Metal Month, Voivod, Metal Church, Exodus will definitely be in the mix. I think Anthrax is going to be in there. So definitely, you might have to wait a year, but they're coming. And I'm sorry for the delay. Some of you have been asking for Voivod for over a year. So it's long overdue, but it is coming, I promise you. A year from now, but it's coming. So you know what to do. Leave some feedback and comments, and please subscribe to Late Night Lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content material. Thank you, and happy Halloween.